Well, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for coming to the first part of the Healthy Body series. I'm excited you're here. Today we're going to talk about firing up our knowledge, specifically talking about body composition. So hopefully some of you have your InBody results in front of you. If not, that's okay. We're going to have them up here to discuss them today. So yeah, let's get started. Go to the next slide here. So this is what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to talk about body composition, what that actually means, how we analyze those results. So when we're looking at those sheets, what do those numbers all mean? What do they mean to us specifically? Then we're going to talk about how we influence that, how we change what's on that sheet based on diet, based on exercise, some of the important things that we need to focus on when we're trying to adapt our body composition. And then we're going to talk about, for the rest of the series, how are we going to track these things? How are we going to set goals, set ourselves up for success? And we'll have some time to go over questions. So on your clipboards, that first sheet that's on there, there's a portion at the top for questions, or if you want to just jot down some notes to yourself, feel free. Any question is a good question, so jot those down throughout. You'll have an opportunity to ask them. And then the bottom portion, you can just leave be. We're going to fill that out together at the end. Okay, so first let's talk about what body composition is, what composes our body. When we step on the scale, we just get one number, but that's not terribly descriptive of our health. We want to know what our bodies are actually made of. So here are some of the things that comprise our body. So we've got our weight, that's what we see on this scale. We've got our body fat mass. We've got total body water. And that's broken up into two sections, the water that is within our cells and the water outside of our cells, and lean body mass. So that's mostly looking at muscle tissue. So why is that important? Well, when we're looking at our weight, these two things weigh the same. This muscle tissue is much denser than this fat tissue. This takes up a lot less space within my body. So whether my weight is up or not, I want to know what's actually contained within my body to know what level of fitness I have, where my health is at. Go ahead and click through these. So we've got total body weight, that's what we see on the scale, our fat mass, our body water, and our lean mass, our skeletal system, and our muscle. So that's really the breakdown of what we're doing. So let's talk about how we actually analyze that. So the InBody. Most of you have been through an InBody before today, which is great, but we use these throughout our exercise regimen to track these sort of things. So the InBody specifically is called a bioelectric impedance analysis, which basically means it is sending weak impulses at different frequencies throughout your body to the different signaling points within your body to determine what your body is composed of. So to do that, it measures how fast these frequencies travel. So in this little picture, we can see throughout our cells, certain things conduct that signal faster. So it tells the system what it's traveling through. So for example, body water such as blood is much more conductive than something like our fat tissue. So that gives us an idea of what we're composed of. The InBody, because of its multiple impulse points, is how it breaks down where that muscle tissue actually lies on your body. And that's super important to us. We want to know, are our legs strong, are our arms strong? Do we have enough muscles within our trunk? So it is a great tool to see where our composition lies, and it's extremely detailed. So it's a great system to look at our body composition. So let's talk about the results page specifically and how we interpret that. So this is our whole results page. We've got lots of information, descriptions, lots of numbers. Let's go section by section, starting off with the very top. One more time, thank you. So this top portion, the breakdown, so these are kind of our big picture numbers. So go ahead and look at that section of your page. So at that, we've got your total body weight today. Some people want to track that, want to know where they're at. We've got your fat mass in terms of pounds, your lean body mass, and that's broken down into dry lean mass, and your total body water. And we're going to talk specifically why each of these things are important, but those are kind of your big picture numbers of the page, talking about how your weight is distributed out of the total weight. Okay, so then we're going straight down the page to the next section, the body composition analysis section. So it's going to show your total weight, your lean body mass in terms of pounds, and your body fat mass. So let's talk about what's good here. What do I want to see? With what I see, where do I want to make changes? So I like visuals. So if I'm looking at this, you can kind of see 3 different shapes that might form out of your bars, different letters here. So just starting at the top, if you see a C shape within your body composition, that's saying your weight is high, your lean body mass is a little bit low, and your body fat mass is a little bit high. So that gives you multiple places to see where improvements lie. If you're seeing kind of straight across the board, your bars are about even, still, there's always improvements in all of these places, but that's saying your weight falls within a normal range of your height. There's several determining factors as to how the InBody tells you what is normal for your body. Your lean muscle mass is within a good range, but there's always room for improvements there. And then body fat mass is within a normal range, but that might be a place where you want to focus on lowering your body fat mass. And then lastly, if we're looking at this and we see this D shape, this is great. This is a great indicator that you're on a good path, that what you're doing, some of your habits may need to continue. So your lean body mass is high based on your weight, your body fat mass is on the lower end. So that's great. So just looking at your results alone, what are you seeing there? So let's go just to the right of that section we're looking at, where it talks about your basal metabolic rate, what we call our BMR. So let me just give you some numbers, first of all. If we're talking about muscle tissue, 1 pound of muscle tissue is going to burn 6.5 calories an hour. Okay, 6.5. If we're talking about fat tissue, it's going to burn 1.2 calories per hour, significantly less. Muscle is going to burn about 5.5 times as much calories per hour. So it's the main driver of what this number is. So this number is what your body needs to maintain its normal daily functions, the amount of calories your body needs to run efficiently, all of your functions, your brain function, what you need to move. So if you were to be at rest all day, for your body to run everything that needs to happen, that's the bare minimum of the amount of calories it needs. Well, the thing that drives this number is our muscle tissue. Our muscle tissue is that main driver within what our body's burning. It's going to account for about 70% of what your body is burning per day. So the main way to increase this number is to increase our muscle mass, which is what we aim to do in here. Cool graphics. So then we're moving down the sheet just slightly to talk about body-water balance. So we're going to talk about what intracellular water is, extracellular water, what the ratio between those should be to be considered healthy. So intracellular water, that is the water that's held within the cell, which is encapsulated within the cell membrane. That water is going to help nutrients circulate throughout the cell. Extracellular water is what lies outside of your cells. So that's what's in your circulatory system, within your blood, within your lymph. We need a fair amount of this for our body to be able to function at the proper rate. So let's look at the ratio here. In bold, in the description on the right of that, is your ratio today between your extracellular fluid and your total body water. So this is the magic range of where that number should lie. And we'll talk about what it says, or what it means really, if you're beneath that range or above that range. So let's talk about why water is so important to our bodies. Well, our muscles are mainly comprised of water, 75% comprised of water. Our brain is comprised of water. Our joints need that fluid to lubricate the joints to function properly. So it's super important that we have a good balance of this. So the balance between intracellular water, that water within our cells, and extracellular water should be about 3 to 1 in terms of the ratio. And when that balance is thrown off, our body composition is affected. So that's what we want to focus on today, our body composition, how we influence it. As the intercellular water is increased, that's a good identifier that you're increasing your muscle mass, because so much of that is held within your muscle mass. So that's a positive health benefit. We want to see that number high. The best way to increase that lean muscle mass, of course, is or to increase your lean muscle mass is to increase your muscle content. That's the main driver of that whole weight. And it's also shown that having a healthy, normal level of intercellular water is good for immune function, because we want to stay healthy, we want to be able to fight off what comes at our body. So let's talk about if these numbers are thrown off. If your extracellular water is too high, what this could mean to us. It could mean several things. It could mean that our fat content is really high and those cells are containing a lot of water. So it could be a sign of obesity. It could also be a sign of kidney function. So the primary function of our kidneys is to filter the fluid, remove toxins, and based on our diet, if those kidneys are not able to function properly, we can retain water. We can retain water in certain places and form what's called edemas. So say our diet is really high in sodium, or we have a high salt content in our body, and our kidneys are not able to filter that as much as they should be able to. The water within our cells is going to be slowly drawn out, or part of that water is going to be slowly drawn out to the water that's extracellularly held, and you can actually have visible swelling throughout your body. Those are what we call the edemas. So that's what, you can go back. And that's one of the reasons we want to make sure that extracellular water is within that normal range. We're going to go down to the next section, which is the obesity analysis. Out of all the information on your InBody, these numbers can be good for people to know. People like to track these numbers. But I think these are the least descriptive in terms of what you have on that page. There's some really awesome information. Some physicians will use numbers like these to make certain diagnoses about cardiovascular health. But it shows right here how these numbers are found. So your BMI is simply your weight over your height squared, so not terribly descriptive. We can have two people that are the same height that have very different body compositions. So BMI can be a good number for certain uses. For our purposes, talking about what our body's composed is not the most descriptive number. And then your body fat percentage is weight in terms of pounds of your body fat over your total weight, times 100 to form the percentage, which is good. I mean, if this is way higher than we want it to be, it can be a good place to set goals from, but much more descriptive is showing where that fat is throughout our body, or where our muscle tissue lies, and where we should make improvements there. So good numbers to know, but not the most descriptive things on our page today. Okay, so this is my favorite part of our InBody analysis. So let's talk about what we're looking for in this segmental portion of the analysis. So we're looking at total body muscle distribution. We want to know where the muscle tissue lies. We want to know, is there a good balance between legs, arms, trunk? Are some of these way exceeding what we need in our body? Are some of them way below? So as trainers, we're looking at these numbers to plan your workouts. Where do we need to make improvements? And click one more. And we want to see balance. We want to see balance across our limbs. Frequently when we have injuries, we have muscle imbalances. We always want our body to be balanced left to right, front to back. That's what keeps us most functional throughout our life. So this is our best spot today to focus on in terms of where we want to set goals. This really breaks down in terms of our composition, where our muscle tissue lies. So let's just look at what these bars represent as well. So up at the very top, you can see under, normal, over. I like to say under, and then this is your range that you want to be in. This is the low end of the range. This is the high end of the range. Over kind of makes it seem like it's bad. It's okay to have more muscle tissue on you than you're planning on having, or what the InBody thinks is a healthy amount. So this is the low end of your range. You want to be within this. So it tells you in terms of pounds where the muscle tissue is throughout your body. And then this lower bar is in terms of a percentage based on your height and weight, how much would be ideal. So for left leg specifically, for this InBody analysis, this person is at 85.4% of what would be considered ideal amount of tissue. So with that number, we can figure out how many pounds we need to improve in terms of muscle tissue in our left leg to be considered normal. So this is a great spot to find numbers to set goals. So if I took, my 15 pounds of muscle in my left leg and found 85% of that, I would figure out my whole ideal. I could figure out with what I have, where I have to go in terms of pounds to improve. So now that we know what body composition is, actually right now is a good spot if we have questions specifically about what body composition is that you feel like sharing, go ahead and shout them out. If you don't, you can just hang on to them tight. You can write them down on your questions page and we can always talk about them later. No questions. Okay, let's talk about how to influence our body composition, the fun part of it. Okay, so let's revisit this basal metabolic rate, what this number is. So this is what our body needs to function. This is the resting base number of what our body is burning. So, but there's other things that happen throughout our day. We have a certain amount of calories we intake throughout our day. Well, is it over that number? Is it under that number? Where do we lie? I'm in here for my 30-minute workout. How does that affect how many calories I'm burning per day? So there's several factors that can influence what's called our total daily energy expenditure. So this is just what our body needs. Let's factor in our calorie intake, let's factor in our exercise, and we'll figure out what our total daily energy expenditure is. So for weight loss specifically, much of the research shows that in order to lose fat tissue or lose weight, you're needing to eat at a caloric deficit. You need to be eating less than your body's burning. So this number isn't factoring in what you are burning in terms of exercise per day, but it gives you a good idea of essentially what your body needs. If you were eating, a 2,000 calorie diet, because that's what it recommends on the food label, and your body's burning 2,600 calories a day, or 1,260 calories per day, I'm already at a calorie surplus for my day. Well, am I exercising enough to use those calories, or am I still sitting at a calorie surplus because I'm not going to be able to adapt my body composition in the direction you probably want to be adapting your body composition if that's where that number lies. Go ahead and click one more. So this total daily energy expenditure, the three factors that influence your metabolic rate, which is great, you have that number, your caloric intake, and the energy you expend. So let's talk about how we affect those. Oh, go back. We're going to hang out on this slide for a sec. So I have two apps here. I don't get overly excited about tracking my own calories, but some people, that's a really good tool in order to figure out where you're at. So these are two apps that I found, I downloaded, I tried them out just so I had an idea before I recommended to you guys of how they work. But if you're like, well, I want to make sure I'm not way overeating in terms of my amount of calories, but who wants to take their label and do their math? They're like, well, I'm eating half this bar. How many calories did I intake? So there is tools you can use to do that for you. The reason I picked these two specifically is it was really clear. You could put your portions, you can look up items, you can even scan barcodes, and it will track how many calories your intake. So we know our metabolic rate, we know how to track our caloric intake. So let's talk about our energy expenditure. So when you're in here exercising and the days after, what's happening in our body? How is our body burning calories? So when looking at high intensity training specifically, there's not an overwhelming amount of research to determine how many calories your body's burning, but I did find one research article done at Harvard Medical School that they mimicked some of the types of exercises we do in here, and they were taking people to that momentary muscular fatigue that we talk about. They're putting a demand on the muscle, they're wanting it to adapt. So In that study alone, they found the amount of calories those people were burning on average based on their weight. So lots of factors can influence this, but these give us some ballpark numbers to look at. So for a 125-pound person in this study doing similar type of exercise that we're doing in here, they were burning about 90 calories during their workout. For a 115-pound person, closer to 112 calories, 185-pound person, closer to 113 calories. So that gives you an idea somewhat of how many calories your body is burning. But the calorie burn doesn't just happen in here. Our bodies stay metabolically active after our workout. When we're in here, we're putting the demands on our muscle, but we're not necessarily getting stronger during our workout while we're in here. Patrick, I know, has talked to you guys in previous seminars, and hopefully you've heard it from us in here before, but we talk about the SAID principle, specific adaptation to impose demand. In here, we're putting the demand on the muscle, and during that recovery period after your workout, that's when the repairs are happening within those little tears that we cause in the muscle. That's where changes occur, and your body continues to burn calories in order to do that. And it goes in a bell curve shape in terms of where your body is burning calories after your workout. So let's take 3 days post your workout. Your body is still about 4% more metabolically active than a day when you hadn't exercised previously. The second day after your workout, it jumps to about 8%, and then it goes back down to 3 to 4% your third day. So your body's continuing to burn those calories as you repair those muscle fibers. So let's talk about what styles of exercise can influence this. So we've got a couple different styles of exercise. We've got endurance exercise, we've got resistance training. That resistance training is what we're mimicking here. So endurance exercise, this is going out and walking, this is spending time on the elliptical, this is going out and walking the golf course. It's great. It can increase your cardiovascular system, it can burn calories, help you lose fat mass, but it's not replacing that muscle tissue. That's important because that muscle tissue is that main driver of our metabolic rate, what's going to burn calories for us. Resistance training, however, aims the goal of increasing your muscle mass. That's awesome. We want our bodies to be burning calories for us. If we can increase that number, awesome, because you increase that number, increase your activity, increase your metabolic rate, but maintain your caloric intake that you're at, naturally you'll end up at that caloric deficit we talked about that helps you lose fat tissue. So increasing your BMR, that's okay, we can go to the next one. Let's talk about how to set some goals based on this. So we have the InBody information. I'll have you guys look at that white sheet you got when you came in that has the questions portion at the top and the SMART goal system at the bottom. Good. So let's talk about, I'm sure many of you have heard of the SMART goal system, whether it's in a class, I should have walked over there, whether it's in a class or there's lots of different business models that follow this system, but for us specifically, what does this SMART acronym represent? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So specific, that's both specific to you, looking at the numbers, your InBody results, where do we need to improve? I always say if you're writing out your goal and there's an and in it, it's not quite specific enough. We're looking at just one thing. There may be 3 things you want to try and aim to improve throughout this Healthy Body series, but let's look at one thing to get started and set specific SMART goals for each of those. So specific, maybe you're trying to lose X amount of lean, or you're trying to lose X amount of body fat percentages over the course of a month. So that's specific to you. You take the numbers you have, I want to lose this many percentages. Measurable, so can we use something to track it? And is that pretty specific? So I'm not just going to set a weight goal that I want to lose 3 pounds. Yes, that's measurable, but that's not as specific as we can be. If we have this InBody at our fingertips, let's utilize it. So measurable. Is there a number? Numbers, that's measurable. Attainable, is it realistic for the time frame we have, and is it realistic to something you can achieve? If you have always come 1 day a week for a workout and your work schedule doesn't allow you to come 2 days a week, just saying that you want to do it 2 times a week, if that's not attainable for your schedule, that wouldn't be a good goal to set yet. Maybe increasing the intensity of your workouts would be more attainable for you right now. Relevant. We want it to be specific to body composition. We want it to be something that we can accomplish during this Healthy Body series. And time bound, that's easy. We can help you set that time frame. So I'm going to let you all take a minute right now, look at some InBody results that you have, and write down a couple things within that sheet that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And if you have questions, I'll come over and we can talk specifically about yours, but I'll give you a second to jot those down. Let's look over just what we have ahead of us in terms of the Healthy Body series. So you guys killed the first step, fire up your knowledge, you're here, we're talking about body composition. We talked a little bit today about how our calorie intake can influence our BMR, but let's try and maximize the calories we do have. That's going to happen this next month. We'll talk about it at the Fire Up Your Nutrition. There's cooking classes with Sonia. If you haven't met her before, she's really great. Corona's going to be talking about some nutrition aspects. And the final month, we'll talk about firing up our fitness. There's going to be 8 workouts designed to specifically challenge you guys. We'll do an InBody at the beginning and end of those. You'll have some opportunities to set your goals with the trainer one-on-one. So another great opportunity to actually try and fulfill these goals we set today. So overall,